former Kaduna Governor Nasiru El-Rufai, SDP National Chairman Shehu Gabam, Major Al-Mustafa, Shegun Shomi, others held a closed-door meeting, causing a stir in the political space, a signal of perhaps a possible unfolding events in the next months. And we shall tonight be dissecting the decisions of President Bola Tinubu's administration in respect of the oil and gas sector and whether the nation is on the right path. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. It's good to be back with you. Happy New Year everyone. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbalo in Abuja. So much to talk about, and we shall be dissecting so much issues on the state of the nation. The nation is getting started. Brand new year, when we wonder, is it a brand new template that we are going to be operating as a people and getting ourselves as a giant of Africa that we'll say we are, and how far we can drive some of the dreams of this country forward in the new year. It promises to be a great year if we handle it very well. So our conversation tonight is going to be about the future of this country. How far and how well can we handle things to ensure that we stabilize this country for the good of all? But first, let me check out for you some of your political roundup stories.
The Lagos State Special Offences Court sitting in Ikeja has assumed jurisdiction to hear the allegations of accepting gratification, corrupt demand and receiving property fraudulently obtained made against the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. Justice Rahman Oshodi, in his ruling delivered this morning, held that the prosecution, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, successfully established that the court has territorial jurisdiction to entertain counts 8 to 20 of the 26 counts charge made against the former CBN governor, based on various facts presented in the evidence attached to the case file. In his ruling, Justice Oshodi noted that while counts 1 to 4 relate to the general offense of abuse of office as defined by criminal law, the specific conduct alleged of foreign exchange without a bid is not defined as an offense in any written law. Consequently, the court struck out these counts. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has filed charges against the former Commissioner of Finance in Kaduna State, Mr. Bashir Saidu, over alleged financial misappropriation and money laundering. ICPC also accused the former commissioner of indirectly taking control of the sum of 155 million naira received in cash from Muazu Abdu, which he reasonably ought to have known formed part of the proceeds of an unlawful activity. The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has restated its stance on the recent appeal court judgment on the legal tussle between the embattled National Secretary, Mr. Samuel Anyanwu, and Ude Okoye for the office of the PDP National Secretary. Addressing journalists at the party's headquarters in Abuja, the National Publicity Secretary of the party says the party recognizes Mr. Ude Okoye as the authentic National Secretary of the party, as declared by the appeal court.
We have received the judgment on the two appeals. Affirming Right Honorable S.K.E. Ude Okoye as the National Secretary of the party.
Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State has issued a strong response to critics accusing him of losing control of his administration, insisting that his government remains focused on delivering democratic dividends to the people. Speaking during the empowerment of 5,200 women across the 44 local government areas of the state, the governor blamed his critics for the decline in Kano's education, health and economic sectors.
This administration has improved the livelihood of over 41,600 vulnerable women by removing a significant financial barrier, stopping them from contributing to the economy of the state.
The senator representing Abia North Senatorial District, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, is urging Nigerians to support President Bola Tinubu's proposed tax reform bill. Speaking to Channels Television after a closed-door meeting with Governor Alex Oti at his country home in the Isialangwa South local government area of the state, Senator Kalu described the tax reform as progressive and modern, insisting that Nigeria needs to reform a lot of laws if it must compete with other developed countries.
President Tinubu's tax reform is modern, and we need to reform a lot of laws in Nigeria. A lot of laws need to be reformed because they're obsolete laws. We cannot be competing in the 21st century by the laws we have.
There you have it, your political roundup stories. But we're adding something to the program tonight that will give you over, perhaps poke some of the things that we'll know but we have forgotten. And lest we forget. Lest we forget the opposition's forgotten duty. In every thriving democracy, the opposition is a heartbeat of accountability, a critical voice that keeps the government on its toes. The role of opposition parties transcends mere criticism. They are the architects of alternative policies, the defenders of public interest, and the watchdogs against executive excesses. Wait, where are political parties anyways? How many are there, by the way? Well, the last count, I know Nigeria has about 19 registered political parties. With that, the atmosphere ought to be a bubbling cauldron of ideas, decent and robust engagement. Yet, what we have is a deafening silence, or worse, discordant, self-serving cacophony, and most times just about the next election. Where are the leaders holding power to account? Where are the civil society groups? Where are the voices challenging the lopsided policies in the different states of the Federation and in fact out of center, or demanding better healthcare, education, and security? Sadly, our opposition seems more preoccupied with playing musical chairs of political ambition than with the serious business of governance. Lest we forget that the consequences of this disengagement are dire. In a country where over 130 million citizens live in multidimensional poverty, we cannot afford an opposition that prioritizes press conferences over pressing reforms. Nigerians deserve an opposition that speaks truth to power, not as an act of vendetta, but as a moral duty to the people. A vibrant opposition could have questioned why in 2025 we can't guarantee, as perhaps the biggest nation on the continent of Africa, stable electricity for our people. Instead, we are left with a chorus of half-hearted critics and opportunistic alliances. The opposition must rediscover its purpose, not as a tool for self-aggrandizement, but as a platform for the people's voice. The civil society too cannot keep quiet. Just as we in the media will play our own role, you, the citizen, need to be more active, and the government at all levels must sit up. It's 2025. No time for bad governance or jokes at the seat of power at all levels. Nigeria deserves better, and the time to demand that is now. I'm just saying, all of this, lest we forget. Lest we forget a moment where we will be giving you some reminders of what should happen in an ideal Nigeria, and we should be driving towards the ideal Nigeria. That is where we belong, Nigeria for all. Well, let's begin with some of the speculations or permutations perhaps that you've seen in the past day. It is being hours of permutations and steers within the political space when some key political figures, including former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai and allies of ex-Vice President Atiku Abubakar, held a private meeting in Abuja. Well, it was at the instance of the leadership of the Social Democratic Party. The closed-door meeting, which took place at the SDP National Secretariat, has raised some speculations about potential political realignment ahead of the 2027 general elections. Among the notable people who were at that meeting were the Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, who ran for president, and former Chief Security Officer to the late General Sani Abacha, and Atiku's former spokesperson, Segun Showumi. Senator Gada, Abubakar Gada, is also one of those who were at that meeting. Although the specific agenda of the meeting was not revealed, Well, it's been described as part of a broader strategy to forge alliances among opposition figures with the aim of presenting a formidable challenge to President Bola Tinubu in the next election cycle. One of those who were animated, particularly one person that's caused more stir, is the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru El-Rufai, whom I spoke with earlier today, and who told China Television exclusively that he's not leaving, or he has not left APC, but his conditions within the APC looks like there are battles against him within the party. But let me allow you to listen a bit to what the national chairman of the SDP, Shehu Gabam, said after the meeting.
We are here to socialize, discuss current national issues. What do we do? What advice can we still provide to this government? Probably if you have listened to them, they spoke along these lines, that nobody wants to pull down the roof of the government. What we are all after is for this government to succeed so that we can also have ease of life by virtue of pressures of citizens that are looking for food, looking for water, looking for shelter, looking for protection. And then the boomeranging effects comes directly to some of us who are being considered as elite, even though we are not, but we take the bashing. And this bashing, we consume them. But we are telling the government there's a level to which you can continue to accommodate bashing. It might bust.
Well, you heard him. Perhaps we might be hearing more about this. Well, when these kind of meetings are happening, you hear what politicians say, but their intentions are deeper than what they say. And so when I said, look, more of what is being done beyond what is being said, I said that on social media today, we might be seeing more of that in the political skin. Tonight, my guest is one person. Yes, he is a governor, but he has an expertise in the oil and gas sector, and as a private citizen, of course, he's worked outside of the country. He's led some very big multinationals before he became governor. But there was an event in Dubai a few weeks ago which caught my attention, and I thought that, well, maybe Nigeria and some private interests, gradually we are moving towards a level of some kind of sustainability in our oil and gas sector that gets our attention. The Warri Refinery, the Port Harcourt Refinery coming on stream. What does this mean? Is the Bola Tinubu government and administration on the right track? Are they doing the right thing? Tonight, my guest is the Governor of Nasarawa State, and Abdullahi Sule is live for us from Lafia. Happy New Year. It's good to see you, Your Excellency. Thanks so much indeed for joining us tonight on Politics Today.
Thank you very much, Sherwin. It's nice to see you back.
Thank you so much
and
indeed.
It is cool that you are back now, which
Thank you so much.
Let's forget.
Let's not forget. Thank you so much.
Let's not forget.
I mean, let me get your feel. You are one of those who worked closely with Malam Nasiru El-Rufai to ensure, as some forces within the northern bloc in the APC who insisted that power must go to the south. And part of those who also backed a Bola Tinubu ticket and candidacy of the APC and saw that Bola Tinubu became president. But now it does look like Nasiru El-Rufai is in the rain, is in the dark of what is happening within the APC. He's your good friend. What is happening to him? Why are you people fighting El-Rufai?
He's my senior colleague. El-Rufai I can't consider him a friend. I can consider him a senior colleague. He was a second-time governor when I was just a first-time governor. And to be honest with you, since he left office, I have not communicated with Nasiru El-Rufai. I don't know what he is doing. I don't know where he is. I don't know everything about his movements. So for that reason, it will be unwise for me to talk about somebody that really I have not spoken with over a period of time. So I don't know. But one statement you made, which is correct, Nasiru El-Rufai was one of those, at the forefront when we got together as governors of the APC from the northern part of the country to ensure that power returns to the south. We said it was going to be unfair for the power to remain in the north after our former president, President Muhammad Buhari, had actually worked for good 8 years under the APC. So we all work together and believe that it should rotate And we thank God it has rotated. And today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is the president. So for me, that's where I will keep it.
No, but what do you think? You are now a senior governor because you're a returning governor. So it means that by all virtue, when you sit at the Progressive Governors Forum meeting, your voice will be respected because you are now a senior colleague to some of your junior colleague governors. What does this mean for your party? And El-Rufai being left in the rain, what is the implication politically?
You know, when the whole actually exercise had taken place, I asked very, very little questions because, you know, I'm managing a state that is already complicated in its own part. So usually in my own way, I don't get too much into issues that are not directly affecting me or affecting my state of Nasarawa. So I saw the way he was nominated as a ministerial candidate. I saw he was this thing. I asked very, very few questions. His successor, you know, who happens to be my good friend, you know, Senator Uba, is somebody also very close to me, but he will tell you that I asked him very little about Nasri El-Rufai. You know, but all the good things I know about, I knew Nasri El-Rufai from the time he was at BPE, you know, and I knew he worked very hard at BPE. And during our governors' meetings, a lot of issues, he worked very hard on that. You know, but what actually led to his nomination, what led to his rejection by the Senate or by the security agencies, whatever they say, to be honest with you, Seun, are not issues we discuss at either the Progressive Governors Forum or even the Nigerian Governors Forum. They are not issues. They are because what doesn't concern us, we can do nothing about it. It is the prerogative of Mr. President to nominate whoever should be his minister, and he nominated. And also there are agencies, you know, including the National Assembly, that either confirm or reject, and they rejected. And somebody like A.A. Sule, I asked very little questions about that because there is nothing I can do about them.
So, for me, and I'm asking you this question as an experienced politician in Nigeria, having an El-Rufai who played a major role in your party in the presidential election outside of the ring, and I'm asking the red question, what do you think is the implication for your party? Could that actually pull the house down? Or what are your fears about it? Do you think he's one person that if your party has what it takes to pull him back in?
Well, you introduce me as somebody from the oil and gas sector who has knowledge of the oil and gas, and you are going to ask about FPS. So now we have derailed into El-Rufai's matter. Now, to be honest with you, El-Rufai, I'm from also what you have said. El-Rufai has not left our party. He's still part of the party, and it is really very early. You know, I have seen a lot of people make all kinds of comments and threats and this, but I think it's very early. You know, we have just gone a little over 1 year. We have not even gone 2 years yet. A lot needs to be done. And for your information, for us in Nasarawa, for instance, our budget for this year, 2025, is equivalent of our budget for 4 years that we used to have. And we are having this budget, and we strongly believe we can drive this budget, you know, into an excellent performance. So the budget of the country today, if you look at it, if that budget is driven, you know, so some of these threats that this one will not do, this one will go, this one will that, you know, but they may not actually happen. That's why I swore to my people in Nasarawa State that my last 2 years will be the best 2 years by the grace of God. And that's why we have that kind of budget. So I think it's too early, you know, to start making those kind of permutations that this one is leaving, therefore the house is coming down and those kind of things. That's the way I see it.
So, but are you worried as a politician when you see this kind of storm clouds gathering, and opposition, you know, forming alliance? If you, I mean, we're not going to forget easily what happened in 2013, 2014, when the Bola Tinubu of this world, when the Rochas Okorocha of APGA, when the Bukola Saraki of the PDP, the Rotimi Amechi of the PDP, all came together. Atiku Abubakar of the PDP came together, formed an alliance with the likes of BC Akonde, Bola Tinubu, Tinubu and the rest in the APC, the Tankwal Makura in CPC, Muhammad Buhari in CPC, and we knew what happened. That was a major force that took out a major political force in Nigeria, the PDP, out of prominence in 2015. One can imagine if all of these forces that are uniting and having all of these nocturnal meetings, and we are lucky to see some of them having meetings in broad daylight now, so we are able to know some of it, but there are a lot more that we do not know. What does this mean? Does it pose a threat to your party, for example?
For me, I'm not scared. If you are talking of, am I scared? Definitely I'm not. For your information, here in Nasarawa State, I still continue to give based on first-hand experience. We have had elections in 2019 where I ran against two very powerful candidates, you know, the former Minister Labaran Maku and then the former member of House of Reps, Honorable Mbugadu. You know, by 2023, they came together and marched also with Labour Party, and marched with this and so many other parties. We have had a little more difficult election in 2023 than we have had in 2019, but here I'm sitting as a governor. So, you know, mergers and these are different. And with all the due respect, as I kept saying, it's too early. What you are talking about happened during the merger of and during the alliances of ACN, CPC, ABGA, APP, and the rest of that. It's not the same as the meeting that you are just seeing. You know, they are completely two different things. With all due respect to all the people there who I have so much respect for, you know, from most El-Rufai himself, you know, to the chairman of SDP, to all the other wonderful guys there. I have respect for every one of them. But that one is a completely different meeting from the one you are talking about. The mergers you are talking about.
So you don't think that there could be a force that could take out your party from existence come 2027? You think your party is in a very good standing? Is that what you think?
What we are going to do in the next 2 years will determine the direction of our party. I strongly believe that we are going to perform in the next 2 years wonderfully. Once we're able to do that, I don't think the party needs to fear about any merger and the rest of that. That's the way I look at it.
So there are those who think that if your party dares to go into an election today, it will be beating and it's going to be giving a bloody nose. Does that worry you?
The election is 2027, so that's the reason why I'm not scared.
Okay, no, I'm saying that if your party were to go in other climes, if they call for an election today where some parliamentary system of government is being run, if they call for an election, what I'm saying, and I'm talking about performance of your party at the center, are you worried that Nigerians perhaps have less of a popularity vote for your party at the center with the way and manner you guys have run this country? I mean, you people, so apologies to you guys.
Yeah, I have said with due respect that I'm not scared. I have said with due respect that the performance of the party depends on the performance not only at the central but also at the various state levels. Elections are not necessarily held only at the federal. The elections are held at the various states, at the various wards, at the various units. So if you go and look at the performances of the governors that we are having, you can say that you will be scared. So I'm talking to you from the point of where I am. You know, sometimes we are just looking at policies and we're looking at the center, what center is doing. But election is not held at the center. Elections are held at the states, at the local government, at the development areas, at, you know, and all those kind of places, at the units. And that's why Mr. President, during our launch, you know, on the 1st of December, he said that you, the governors, you are the one to drive development. You are the ones actually to do this and that. You are the one to do agriculture. I'm expecting skill acquisition from you. Mining, I'm expecting performance from you. I don't have a farm for agriculture. So he's sending it again back to the states, if you look at it. So I think that's the way I'm looking at it, Sean.
Indeed, we'll wait. But I mean, the question a lot of Nigerians will want to know today is your party on the right track in delivering the governance that will make their lives better? And if you look at the indices over the last few months since your party got into office, a lot of Nigerians are bearing the brunt and hoping that things will get better. To the major reasons why I invite you, Governor Sule, last month, December, just about in the mid of December, there was an event in Dubai, which for me, there was a good side to it, which means that a local Nigerian indigenous company has launched an FSPO, a floating production, storage, and offloading vessel, which there are those who believe that could have helped Nigeria to increase our crude oil production to about 30,000 barrels per day. You're in that picture. The vice president is there, and some very eminent Nigerians are also there. This particular installation in Dubai launched in that country, and by Q1 of 2025, when commencement of production at the Okwek oil field commences, it will give some jump of about 17,000 barrels per day, which can help Nigeria. How much of a good news is this for Nigeria on one hand, considering that now we're hearing that the Warri Refinery is coming on stream? The Port Harcourt Refinery and NPC is telling us that it's working well. From your experience, if you put all of this together, are we getting on the right track?
Very good. That's why I told you we have 2 years to go. Now, let me start with the FPSO that you have just talked about. This FPSO is owned by one of the local companies called Oriental Energy Resources, owned by Alhaji Muhammad Ndimi of Maiduguri. Now, how did I get involved in this? In the 90s, I was not living in Nigeria, actually. Throughout the 90s, I was in the US. I was in Houston. So in the 90s, a lot of Nigerians, actually were given oil blocks. One of those companies happens to be the Oriental Energy Resources that came into Houston, where I was working in the oil and gas industry, and entered into a relationship with a company called Kanako DuPont. And so many other companies actually came in. I want to use this opportunity to show great appreciation to some of our leaders with their foresight that they had given oil blocks to Nigerians, because a lot of Nigerians got oil blocks at the time: Cavendish, Oriental Energy Resources, Express, North Atlantic, and so many other companies from all over the country. Niger Delta, owned by our senior late Aaron Adams, and the rest of that. So now there was a lot of joke during that period, which is the reason why I decided to be part of this interview and to be part of the event in Dubai. A lot of people were laughing at it, that it was not going to work. Now, what happened, I was shocked when Alhaji Muhammad Ndimi came all the way to Lafayette here and invited me to come for the commissioning of the FPSO that he built with a hull. That is the storage, the storage capacity of 1 million barrels. His intention is he's going to go to 100,000 barrels per day with that FPSO. And most of these FPSO, you don't have too many FPSO in Nigeria, by the way. That is first. Let me clear that with you. I don't believe, I have left the oil industry now. I became a governor about 5 years ago. So I can't talk authoritatively about how many FPSO we have in Nigeria, but I will doubt if there are more than 10. Okay, so this gentleman, the reason why this FPSO is different, most FPSOs in the world are built actually by a company called Modec. So they have been over 50 years in the industry building FPSO. Now, this particular FPSO actually was built by a combination of so many small companies with this huge storage. So Alhaji Ndimi came all the way and invited me. And I told him, sir, for you to come all the way to Lafayette to invite me, I will be there by the grace of God. Luckily, the vice president was going, and I'm so happy that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu considered it, important enough to send the vice president to go and represent him to commission it. So we call it naming. It's like a naming. If you have a bath, after 7 days, you name the child. So that is the naming of the FPSO. So that was the event that we went. And it's called FPSO. That was the naming ceremony. So I was there because I've been to so many naming ceremonies of FPSO as a small person, not as a governor. This is the first one I went as a governor. So I was excited, when Alhaji Ndimi invited me. So I went there, and then we had the discussions, on the area, and I had the opportunity actually to talk at the event, and talk about the effort this gentleman has done. It's a local company. It is fully funded 100% by Alhaji Muhammad Ndimi's Oriental Energy Resources. This is something that we should celebrate in this country. This is something we should celebrate our leaders who had the foresight of allocating some of these oil blocks to these people. This was not an oil and gas person. Alhaji Muhammad Ndimi had never been oil and gas person before he had this oil block in the 90s. And today, look at what is happening. So like you mentioned, is success first and foremost by the government, by the local companies, and now we have individuals in Nigeria building their FPSO. As I said, building of FPSO takes a lot of effort because the hull itself is built by a different company. And most of the times, the top sides is a combination of so many things. The cabling, the piping, the valves, the Christmas trees, blowout preventers, and everything that you can think of. That's exactly what has happened now. So I was so happy for Alhaji Muhammad. Alhaji Muhammad Ndimi is not somebody who talks. He's a very quiet person. So, but he came and invited me. If it was another person that makes too much noise, the whole of this Nigeria will have been full of noise about that FPSO. But he built a huge FPSO very quietly, commissioned it very quietly, and it is going to be actually floated to Nigeria to start its production very quietly. But Nigerians need to know about it, and Nigerians need to celebrate Nigerians who are actually making us proud by this kind of effort. The whole design and everything was done from within Nigeria, between the officials of the NNPC, from what the MD of the company told me, the selection of the contractors, selection of the equipment, selection of everything was done locally. So I was so excited, to hear that. And I'm so happy that I was actually in Dubai to witness that naming ceremony, of the FPSO.
My major concern, or what I'm so much interested in, is in the interest of Nigeria. And maybe at some point, our reliance on anything foreign in terms of refining might come to an end one day, and we will face squarely local refining, local production, and we will, like Peter Obi will say, we would have moved from consumption to production to actual, getting our hands dirty and getting things done for ourselves. But, interestingly, there was a $5 billion investment commitment by Shell and its partners with the federal government a day after the naming ceremony in Dubai. What kind of drama do you think that is within the business sector, especially the oil and gas?
It's not a drama. It's not a drama. I was in Dubai when I saw the news. I saw the news that SNEPCO, which is the offshore company of the SPDC, SNEPCO actually came and met Mr. President and made that commitment, to be able to invest another $5 billion at what we call the Bonga. The Bonga is the first biggest, deep water discovery, a little bit offshore Niger Delta. So SNEPCO had been there. SNEPCO has been producing there. It's one of the fields where there is over 1 billion barrels. SNEPCO actually, I think, was discovered before Agbami and the rest of these other big blocks, before Erha and the rest of that. So when they make that, I was laughing actually, and I was excited. And I was saying, God, now somebody is waking up. And I'm happy that it is going on like that SNEPCO is now coming up to make this kind of commitment of $5 billion, because, over the years, most of the IOCs have refused to make investment in Nigeria. Over the years, they have refused. They complain of so many challenges, and so they were no longer invested. So to hear an investment of $5 billion just a day or two after we named the FPSO ceremony, I say, fantastic. Something is working now in the country. Going back to the NNPC, the refinery, the biggest statement you made, about, that's why I said, amen, when you make the statement. When you said it is time for us to start building some of these capacities in Nigeria. Remember, there was a company actually called Niger Dock in Lagos. When I was living in Lagos, there was a company called so. That was the essence of that company. The company actually never survived, but the company, I think, was somewhere around Apapa, that was set up. And the whole essence, it was set up when I was in the US, and we were very happy. Nigerians in diaspora, every time they hear good news, about what is happening in Nigeria, we're all excited, happy, and this and that. So we were all happy and excited that, now FPSOs are going to start building, and some of these vessels will be built in Nigeria and this and that. But I don't think it survived, but maybe it's about time now we begin to see that. So during my speech or my little remarks actually in Dubai, I mentioned that. I say I will be the happiest person one day to see that this kind of FPSO is built here. Casting of these kind of foundries, of these huge FPSO will take time to, there is no need to deceive ourselves. It will take time for Nigeria to be able to do that. But at least the top sides, most of the valves, the cabling, the piping, the flanges that we have, this and that, we can do that in Nigeria right now. And for some of us, actually, before I die, I will be the happiest to see that we are doing them in Nigeria because we have the capacity, we have the people, we have this. So the will is just what is lacking. So sometimes when I sit
Governor
down,
Sule, Governor Sule, one fear that I have is when there is a fair competition agreed. But when you hear the news like the Alhaji Ndimi's investment, about $315 million US investment, it is not an interest. It is an already, what you can see on the ground is an investment on the ground. And this is a local company, an indigenous company. But when you hear foreign investment coming in with some level of commitment, we have not really seen it. Practically speaking, Bonga, by the way, is one of the oldest field in Nigeria. But the question is that, are you worried for someone who spent a lot of years within the sector of the pressure on the local investment or the indigenous company thriving when this kind of climate, if it's not giving a fair or allowing indigenous company to thrive first? A question of Nigeria first, like Donald Trump would say, America first.
No, that's why for me, I was telling you, I said the biggest celebration for us that week, even though the investment suggested by SNEPCO on the Bonga is a bigger amount of money, for me as A.A. Sule, the biggest celebration that week was actually the FPSO biology endemic. The reason is not that I'm not happy with what SNEPCO is doing. Very, very happy, and I'm glad that it is happening, But for me, I want to see the local companies coming up. And we had lots of them that were given oil blocks. During the period of President Babangida and President Abacha, those years from 1990 all the way to 1998, 99, so 2000, somewhere there, a lot of oil blocks were given to local companies, and a lot of them are performing. In fact, one of the earlier performing companies was called Consolidated Oil, owned by Chief Adenuga. I remember we used to receive my senior colleague in the oil and gas industry at the time, Engineer Omoshola, who used to come actually to Houston to meet with us, to go and start working on this. So these are people actually who have done so much in that. And I think Nigerians, will need to begin to see, this development so that local content has been a slogan, let me put it that way, for a very, very long time. But it is materializing now. We are beginning to see it.
Governor Sule, quickly, I'm due for a break, but I want to know your view. There are a lot of people who are skeptical about the manner in which the NNPC and the contract respect of the Port Harcourt Refinery and the Warri Refinery and some of the hidden truth in that for someone of your knowledge of that sector. What do you think is going on? What do you think? Should we be seeing more transparency from the NNPC? Are these refineries for real, giving us the real deal?
If you make this statement again, they will invite you the way they invited Obasanjo to go and check that refinery. First and foremost, let me congratulate the NNPC management. Let me congratulate my brother, Elekari, for what they have done. It does not matter how you look at it. For the fact that we are firing the Port Harcourt refinery, we are firing the Warri refinery, is actually called for celebration. Just for that. What is causing about this, the moment that Dangote refinery actually was commissioned, is similar to what is happening now. It was commissioned. Then NNPC actually was also under pressure, to go ahead and perform and do something, because this was done by a Nigerian. It was done while I was part and parcel of the Dangote group. When he started, a single individual, he started, I'm going to build a 360,000 barrels per day refinery. Then we were there one time, Alaji came and said, okay, no, we are going to move it to 400,000. Then 450,000. Then, this refinery was supposed originally to be even in Ondo State, and then something happened. And then it's moved to Lekki. Boom, 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 boom. That refinery was there. That's why I was happy on the day of the commission when Alaji said, let me be the one to do the opening prayers. And that's why I was very happy to that, because I was part and parcel of that success story. So I think that has put pressure on the NNPC. So I think first and foremost is to congratulate them. They have done well by firing the refineries that are working. As far as transparency is concerned, I think even the management of NNPC will tell you that we want to see more transparency, even them, because they should love Nigeria more than anybody else. The issues of NNPC didn't start now. It started a long time ago. The issue of corruption in the system is not now. As I told you, in the 90s, throughout the 90s, I was in the US, and that time constantly we talk about the corruption in NNPC. So many managing directors were removed, so many were replaced, so many were this, either because of one kind of scandal or the other. So it didn't start now. And I don't think it is a problem that will end quickly, because it's deep-rooted. NNPC is one angle, DPR is another angle, NAPIMS is another angle, this and that, and all these collectively constitute the oil industry. It's just that for a typical Nigerian, it's only looking at the NNPC. Checking of these contracts to ensure the contracts are okay. Who is the contractor? This and that is not even done by the it's done by NAPIMS. So, but now with the PIB bill, there has been a little bit of restructuring, of eliminating this, taking this out. This upstream is here, downstream is there, this and that, which was something we started under OGIC, in the year 2004, 2005, 2006. So yes, you must congratulate them. And I don't think there is anything to doubt about whether the NNPC refineries are working. They did say they are producing gasoline, and they say they are producing diesel, they are producing kerosene. It's a stages. When you go into the system, on that distillation unit, you go in different stages. You start producing this and that, and then you go all the way to the top. That's the way the operation works.
All right, let's take a breather. But when we come back more into our conversation, is the Bola Tinubu government getting it right as far as the oil and gas sector is concerned? I'm paying attention to this because if you look at the budget presentation of the president, you will see that the president is very optimistic. He's in fact shooting so high in terms of the amount of crude oil that Nigeria will produce. And there are those who believe that maybe this government is shooting too far more than the reality. But what exactly should we be expecting? And that's why we talk more. And of course, I would like to get the view of Governor Sule on the tax reform bill. Maybe he's a born again in terms of his view on the situation as far as the tax reforms bill is concerned. We'll be right back. But this is your Politics Today quiz. For those of you who are very much acquainted with Nigeria's political history, let me ask you tonight. Who was Nigeria's first Minister of Finance after independence? And these are the options for you. Is it A, Obafemi Awolowo, B, Festus Okotie-Eboh, C, Tafawa Balewa, D, Nnamdi Azikiwe? The quiz for today on Politics Today is who was Nigeria's first Minister of Finance after independence? Obafemi Awolowo, Festus Okotie-Eboh, Tafawa Balewa, or Nnamdi Azikiwe? There is a prize for you if you get it. The first fast fingers tweet at us at CTV Politics at Shongoki on X on Twitter, and the fast fingers will get their prize before the weekend. We're going to break and we'll be back, everyone. Join us again. I see a lot of people answering the quiz questions on the YouTube stream, and it's quite interesting. I see probably maybe we can go through this YouTube stream and get a few people who I've got some gift for people. But if you are able to send your right answers, and you are one of the fastest to get that done on our Twitter and X handle at Showalking or at CTV Politics, then we might be able to get to you some very interesting gifts to get your year started. Let's get back to the conversation with Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Now, Governor, you look at the projection of this government about crude oil production, and when we wonder why did they shoot that eye, what is the optimism? Is the environment so secured now that we can guarantee that level of production as projected in that budget? Is that not too much of optimism, don't you think?
Sorry again, for me not. The reason is Nigeria has over 40 billion barrels a reserve of oil. Nigeria has the capacity easily to produce 3 million barrels per day, no doubt. What is causing us not to do that are either the theft or some of the structures that are not properly maintained, or some of the valves that are usually not checked to ensure that what we are producing, that is what we are declaring, and so many other problems associated with that. So if you are talking of scared or being too optimistic about what they did, to be honest with you, I'm not. Now, what is also giving me a little comfort is that more and more of the IOCs are actually going deep water. You know, they are running away from the onshore and they are going deep water. And Nigeria has a sizable number of deep water discoveries, that we are seeing at the moment. So if we get it right, we can actually produce that. And remember, for me, as a private sector person, you don't set up a budget that is easy for you. It's a hurdle. So you set up a budget that you have to work hard to be able to achieve it. That's the whole essence of budget. You don't set up, if you know that you have the capacity to produce 2 million barrels, you don't set up a budget of 1.8 so that when you perform, people will say, oh, no, you are performed. That's not the way budgets are set up. So budgets are set up in such a way that you set it high in order to work even harder, in order to achieve that. So to answer you straight away, I'm not scared.
So I look at it, the projection, and it's interesting that, good news actually, that if you look at it, for the first time, Nigeria shot above 1.5 million barrels per day for the first time in 4 years. That is good news of some sort. But then, how do we leverage on this good news? How do we sustain it? Securing the grounds where this production is being done. But I look at the politics with Dangote Refinery, the Warri Refinery, and as though the NNPC has war with Dangote, price competition. Price competition good, yeah, but then we see the dirty politics that is being played. How do the Nigerian people get a fair share or get the good benefit out of all of this? Good news that we shot over 1.5 million, first time in 4 years, Governor.
Yeah, and from all indications, they are working harder to achieve that. As I told you, NNPC is really under pressure at the moment to perform. And I think I want to sincerely, keep commending my brother Melekari for the effort that he is putting in together with his management, in order to achieve that. So I think this is a wonderful thing that is happening. So it takes us back to the first question when you say this government, is it on the right track? So now you are telling me the government is on the right track by yourself.
No. So the question, I mean, no, I didn't say that. So what I asked is, the government projected 2.06 million barrels per day in the budget. And for the first time in 4 years, we hit 1.5. And I'm asking whether we're on the right track and whether our projections in the budget is right. Is it too much of optimism? That yes, it's good to be optimistic. It's good to work hard at it. But then Is it not, are we not overreaching ourselves? I mean, can't we just do something that we know is achievable? That's my question. And I'm not saying that this government is on the right track. I'm not an expert in that area.
Okay, no, I thought, sorry, I put the word into your mouth. I thought that's what you are saying.
No.
But now let us go back. Let us go back to our point. You know, when you said, you know, are they on the right track? You know, earlier on we talked about the FPSO MM. You know, FPSO of the alleged limit that we say is going to add another 100,000 barrels, you know, over a period of time. So that's some good news. We talk about SNEPCO that we are seeing $5 billion investment. When you have $5 billion here, easily you are talking about another 75 to 100,000 barrels per day. You know, can go into that. You can go to Agbami, you can go to Erha, you can go to all these big fields, you know, and then put some effort on that to ensure something happens. And some of the local players, and you can stop some of the theft. I mean, who tells you that Nigeria is not even producing the 2 million barrels today? You know, so partly because of the theft, we are not able to disclose 2 million barrels. So Nigeria at one point was producing 2.5, 2.6 million barrels. So it's not like a new thing. That's why I'm telling you, for me, based on my own knowledge of the industry and the understanding that I have of the industry, believe me, 2.06 million, 2.1 million barrels, I'm not scared. You know, if we work harder, we can actually achieve it.
Quickly, before I take you to the tax reform bills, what is happening with Dangote? Is it a kind of a soul story for an indigenous investor? The kind of underpinnings that we see and the politics and the politicking within that sector. Are you worried about what is going on?
I will answer that, but you said tax story again. I thought we have agreed not to talk about tax today. But let me go to the Dangote story that you have mentioned. You know, as far as Alhaji Aliko Dangote is concerned, Alhaji Aliko has been known as a dogged, you know, fighter. And when I say fighter, when it comes to his investment, you know, dogged workaholic until he achieves his vision. He has been known for that. So there is nothing happening in Dangote actually that makes me sad or makes me scared or makes me anything based on my knowledge of who Alhaji Aliko Dangote is. And you see, oil is an international commodity. If it works out another way, Alhaji Aliko Dangote could import all his crude oil 100%. He could export all his finished product 100%. Nothing stops him from doing that. That's the kind of industry we have. That's why oil is internationally traded. It has to be based on international currency. It's sold in dollars. It's bought in dollars. And the refinery is there. It's a fantastic refinery. Okay, so the refinery has the capacity actually to operate independent of Nigeria. So if that is the case, why will I be scared of anything happening to him or even be getting so political about what is happening with that industry? I think it's an industry that will survive on its own. I have no doubt of not even slightest, you know, amount of doubt in my mind as far as
my own worry, Governor Sule, at that level, I know that the big men will sort themselves out. But it is what is in need for Nigeria, whether or not the pricing. I mean, I will even be glad when they fight and there is a big competition that will drop down the price of the commodity. I mean, that would be my joy when an average person goes and buy the commodity at a lower price. But the question is that do we need that dirty politics? That is a question. Should we be seeing that kind of thing happening in our country?
No, the benefits have already started. It's because you went on vacation for a very long time. That's why you didn't know what happened. You know, Dangote already, through MRS, you know, that's the company owned by Ladisei and Tata, had agreed actually to drop the price. And a few days later, I realized NNPC also at its own NNPC stations had also dropped the price. You know, if the conditions of the market forces agree, I will have no doubt in my mind Dangote will drop the price again. And the NNPC most likely will drop the price again. Those are the benefits to Nigeria, you know. So for some of us, we already started buying at the cheaper price. I don't know about you because you just got back.
And some of us who ride on bicycles and who trek from our home. My house is very close to the office, so I take that advantage and the benefit to do some exercise. But on the final note, where they say when the elephants fight, the grass suffers. But in this sense, it does look like when the elephants are fighting, in this sense, the grass is getting greener, and that's a good news for us. But on a final note, are you born again now in terms of your stance with the tax reforms bill, Governor Sule?
I don't know what you mean about tax born again.
But you have very strong opposition to some of the details of the bills, yeah.
Yes, and we have achieved our goal. That's the reason why today I talk differently. I talk differently because the goal we wanted to achieve has been achieved. We wanted the bill actually to be discussed further. We didn't want this bill to be passed with all the contents of what it is. Today we have the opportunities, where even those who generated this bill, look at the way the House of Reps is handling it. Look at the way it is. I want to commend the House of Reps in particular, especially the Speaker. So the way it is handling it is that they are capturing all the concerns of everybody. And I give the credit to Mr. President. When we, the governors, met with him, he told us, he said, we don't have to withdraw this bill. We can actually take into consideration all the concerns you have, all the amendments you have, and we have the amendments all taken care of and pass the bill. For me, from that day, my problem has been solved. Because what I didn't want, a situation where we had a bill that had concerns, especially for people like us, and then that bill is passed. But look at the way the House of Reps actually handle it. Even the second reading, they have not done the second reading. So they are taking the consideration. They are taking everybody. They are taking that. And this is a concurrent bill. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if the Senate passes it, House of Reps doesn't pass it, it doesn't have any effect. So, and the president actually had given his nod, even during our last meeting, he still said the same thing. He said, this bill, I didn't bring it in order to offend you people. Go and make all your amendments.
Governor Sule.
The progressive governors sat down and also took everything, and then we're there. So for me, I think I have gotten what I'm looking for. So I'm not a born again, but I'm a satisfied customer.
That's good. It's good to hear that we are headed somewhere. Thank you so much for your tenacity and for the knowledge that you bring to bear. And that's why I always have the pleasure of hosting you, having a very civil and a very informed conversation. Thank you, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sherwin, and welcome back.
Thank you so much indeed. But just before we go, let you know, a lot of people are getting the answers right. But this is the answer to the quiz of the day. My question was who was the Nigeria's first Minister of Finance after independence? Is it Obafemi Awolowo? Is it Festus Okotie-Eboh? Is it Tafawa Balewa? Nnamdi Azikiwe? If you said Obafemi Awolowo, you were wrong. If you said Nnamdi Azikiwe, you were wrong. If you said Tafawa Balewa, you were wrong. The right answer is Festus Okotie-Eboh. And that's how we'll conclude the program tonight. Expect a random selection for the winners, and you hear from us. You get your goodie bag right from us at Channels Television. That's how I end it tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sule Kimale. God bless Nigeria.